All right, we are back with Chapter 3, Applying Rational Numbers, Lesson 5, Adding and Subtracting Fractions. So let's just talk about adding and subtracting fractions. So there's to add and subtract fractions with different denominators. So remember the word denominator, that means something. Whenever you have a fraction like 3/4, this number on the bottom is called the denominator right there. And the number on top, does anybody know? It is called the numerator. Okay? So in this particular problem, we're going to be adding and subtracting numbers with different denominators, like this problem right here, 1/4 plus 5/6. There's a 4 in the denominator and the 6, and they're different. So we're going to go over how you add and subtract fractions that have different denominators. So the first step is to find the least common multiple. Now, we talked about this in a previous section, but let's just go ahead and review it. So what least common multiples are, so if we were to look here between 4 and 6, that means, let's say we count by 4. So we count by 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. These are called multiples of 4. And then we count by 6s. 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. Those are multiples of 6. So the least common multiple, these are multiples. The common ones, so if I look at both of these lists of numbers, I see that they both have a 12. And they also both have a 24. So those, and if we kept going, there would be more, okay? And those are called common multiples. They have those multiples in common, and what we want is the least common. So the least common multiple between 4 and 6 would be 12 because it is the smallest. So the LCM of 4 and 6 is 12. All right, so step number 1, find the least common multiple of the denominators. Step 2, write both fractions with the least common multiple, LCM, as the denominator. So that's what we need to do now. We have 1/4 plus 5/6. 1/4 plus 5/6. And we need to make this 4 into a 12. So how do we make this 4 into 12? Well, we can make it into a 12 by multiplying it by 3. And whatever we do to the bottom of the fraction, we have to do to the top, because we can do 3 divided by 3, which is really the same thing as 1, and we can multiply any number by 1 and we get the same number. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 4 is 12. So now we have a 12 on the denominator, which is exactly what we want. Now we have to do the same thing for this 6. How do we make this 6 into a 12? Well, to do that, we multiply it by 2. So we have to do that to the bottom and also to the top, because 2 over 2 is the same thing as 1, and we can multiply 5/6 times 1, and we get 5/6. It's just a different version of the fraction 5/6. So let's go ahead and do the multiplication. 5 times 2 is 10, and then 6 times 2 is 12. So perfect. Now we have fractions with the same denominator. So then that puts us on to step 3, which states that you just add, you add or subtract the numerators. Remember, that's the number on top, keeping the denominator the same. Okay? So we are just going to add the numerators. 3 plus 10 is equal to 3 plus 10 is equal to 13. And then you keep the denominator the same. So the denominator is 12, so we're just going to leave it as 12. And so we end up with 13 over 12. So this is actually called an improper fraction. It's called an improper fraction because the number on top is bigger than the number on the bottom. So these right here would be called proper fractions. because the number on the top is smaller than the number on the bottom. So that one's proper, and also this one is proper too, because the number on top is smaller than the one on the bottom. But this one is improper because the number on top is bigger than the one on the bottom. So anytime you have an improper fraction, you can change it into a mixed number. And so to do that, you just say, hey, how many times does 12 go into 13? It goes in one time. And how many are left over? If 12 goes into 13 one time, that means there would be 1 left over. So 13 over 12 is the same thing as 1 and 1/12. Now, a lot of times we'll just be happy with this answer right here. And when you get into upper mathematics, you really get comfortable with improper fractions, and it's really a lot easier just to leave it like that. But sometimes we will change it to mixed numbers, especially when you're dealing with story problems. The last part of step 3 is just to write in simplest form. That's in lowest terms to make sure that there's no common factors with the top and the bottom. And you can look here, there's no common factors between 13 and 12, so that is in simplest form. So there you go. Those are both the answers. And if you have something like this where it's an improper, I want you to box the improper and also box the mixed number, because they're the same thing, but I would like to see that you know how to do both. All right, let's move on to the next one. That was some addition. And now we're going to do subtraction. We have 2/3 minus 1/2. And so we have to find the least common multiple of 3 and 2. So if we count by threes, 3, 6, 9, 12, what would the next one be? 15. And then we count by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We would see that the common multiples would be 6 and 12, and there would be more. But the least common multiple would be 6. So that's what we want our denominator to be. So we have 2/3 minus 1/2. And we need each of these to turn into a 6 on the bottom. So to get a 6, we need to multiply the 3 by 2. We have to do that to the bottom and to the top. And that's going to end up being 2 times 2, which is 4, 6. And we're going to subtract. And then we need this 2 to be a 6, so we're going to multiply it by 3 to the top and the bottom. So 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. And then we just keep the number on the bottom and we subtract. So the 6 remains the same, and then we just subtract the numerators. 4 minus 3 is 1. And that's in simplest form, so that is our answer. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do a couple more problems together, and then I will have you do some problems on your own. So we're going to add or subtract and write each answer in simplest form. So here we go. We have 5 and we have 3. So we're just going to count by multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then we're going to count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And I think we have our common multiple. Our common multiple is 15. So that means we need each of these numbers on the bottom to be 15. So I'm just going to rewrite it. Okay, and we can go, we need this to be a 15, so we're going to multiply it by 3 to the top and the bottom. We end up with 9 over 15. And then we need this to be 15, so we're going to multiply it by 5 to the top and the bottom. And we end up with 5/15. Perfect. So then we just add. We have our common denominator, which is what we need, is 15. So we just add across on top. 9 plus 5, is 14 over 15. So we have 14/15, and that answer is in simplest form. There is no factor that goes into both 14 and 15. So there we go. There's our answer. All right, let's move on to number 2. We have 8/9 minus 1/3. So 8/9 minus 1/3. Oh, I'm sorry about that. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what the LCM is. So let's go ahead and count by 3s. So, or count by 9s, 9, 18, 27, and then let's count by 3. 3, 6, 9, and I think I see it right there. Our LCM is going to be 9, and that's really nice. Whenever, first I'm going to rewrite this. So 8/9 minus 1/3. Okay, this is already a 9, so we don't have to do anything to it. That's perfect just how it is, okay? However, for this one, we need to make it a 9. So 3 times 3 is 9. And whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I end up with 8/9 minus 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And since we have our common denominator, I'm going to leave that 9 on the bottom. And now we're just going to do 8 minus 3, which is 5. And perfect. We're going to check and see if it's in simplest form. And it is. There is no common factors between 5 and 9. So that's our answer right there. Perfect. Okay, I think I want you to go ahead and try problems 3 and 4. So go ahead. There's our friend the pause dragon, and he is reminding us to go ahead and pause your device and then press play once you finish those problems, and then we'll see how you did. All right, see you in a bit. See you in a bit. All right, we are back with 2/5 plus 1/2. So first we need to find the LCM. So I'm going to count by 5s and count by 2s and figure out which what their least common multiple is. So when I count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, and then I count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I see that they both have a 10 in common. So that's what I need my number on the bottom to be. So I'm going to rewrite it. That's what the common denominator needs to be. So I have 2/5 plus 1/2. So to make this into a 10, I need to multiply it by 2 to the top and the bottom. Okay, that's going to, 2 times 2 is going to give me 4. 2 times 5 is going to be 10. Plus, and then to make this 2 into a 10, I need to multiply it by 5 to the bottom and to the top. And I can do that because 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 1 times any number is the same number. So when I go 1 times 5 on top, I get 5, and 2 times 5 on the bottom, I get 10. And then I just add. I keep the same number in the denominator, and then 4 plus 5 is 9. And I'm going to look and see if that's in lowest terms, and it is, so that's it. That's my answer, 9/10. So if you got that right, great job. Great job. Okay, on to number 4. Whoops, sorry. Number 4. Here we go, 3/4 minus 1/3. So first thing we have to do is figure out what that least common multiple is going to be. So I'm going to count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, and then I'm going to count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12. Oh, they both have a 12. Perfect. Right there. So that's what my common denominator is going to be. So I'm going to rewrite it, 3/4 minus 1/3. And I need to figure out what do I multiply 4 by to get 12. And I multiply it by 3 to the bottom and to the top. So I end up with 9/12 subtracted from, and how do I turn this into a 12? Well, I multiply it by 4 to the bottom and to the top. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Perfect. I have a common denominator. So that's going to be the denominator for my answer. And then I just subtract the numbers across. 9 take away 4 is 5. And I'm going to check to see if my answer is in lowest terms. And it is. So there you go. My answer is right there, 5/12. And I hope you got that too. All right. Let's go ahead and go to the back page with problems 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I want you to go ahead and pause again. I want you to work these problems out. How about you try 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or maybe just 5 and 6. So go ahead and pause, work those problems out, press play, and then come back and check your answers. All right, we'll see you in a bit. Okay, we are back with 2/3 plus 3/4. So the first thing we have to do is find the common multiple. So I'm going to count by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12, and then I'm going to count by 4s, 4, 8, 12, and there I see it. The common multiple, or the least common multiple, is going to be 12. So I need to make sure that I get 12 for the denominator of both of these fractions. So I'm going to rewrite it. 2/3 plus 3/4. So to get 12, I need to multiply this 3 by 4 to the bottom and the top. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. So that turns into 8/12. Plus, I need to make this into a 12. So in order to make this 4 into a 12, I need to multiply it by 3 to the bottom and to the top. And so I end up with 9/12. Okay. Then I just, I have my common denominator. They both have a 12. So I'm going to have a 12 in my answer in the denominator. And then I just add the numbers on top. 8 plus 9 is 17. What do you notice about this? Yes, this is an improper fraction. So this number on top is bigger than the number on the bottom. So it's an improper fraction, which means we can change it to a mixed number. How many times does 12 go into 17? It goes into 1 time. And how many are left over? Well, there would be 5 left over, so it would be 5/12. And you just keep that same denominator. So yeah, those are our two answers, 17/12, the improper fraction, and 1 5/12, which is the mixed number. Now, is this one we want to check real quick? Are these two in lowest terms? Are they in simplest form? Yeah, they are, because 17 is a prime number. And so there's no common factors between 17 and 12. And 5 is the same. So yeah, there we go. Those are our two answers. So if you got that right, great job. Okay, on to problem number 6. We have 1/4 minus 5/8. So we have to get a common denominator, find the LCM. So I'm going to count by 4s, 4, 8, and wow. That is pretty nice because our least common multiple is 8. Perfect. So I don't really have to do a whole lot of counting by the multiples there. So I'm going to rewrite 1/4 minus 5/8. I need to make this 4 into an 8. So to make it into a 4, I need to multiply the bottom and the top by 2. 2 times 1 is 2 over 2 times 4 is 8 minus 5 over 8. I don't need to do anything because it already has an 8. So I just leave it exactly how it is, which is perfect. All right, cool. My answer is going to have an 8 in the denominator. Okay, we have a common denominator, so then we can just do the stuff on top. So this is 2 minus 5. 2 minus 5. So this is kind of like a integer type problem. Even though it's fractions, we're just kind of thinking about it as 2 minus 5. That's how I'm thinking about it in my brain because I know that it's going to have an 8 on the bottom. So here, this is a positive 2. This, even though I'm saying this is a minus 5, this is really a negative. So we have a positive and we have a negative, and the signs are different. You take the difference. So what's the difference between 5 and 2? It is 3. Now we're going to look at the numbers. We're going to look at 2 and we're going to look at 5 and we're going to say, hey, which number is bigger? And 5 is the bigger number and 5 is negative. That means our answer is going to be negative. So the answer to this is negative 3/8. So one last thing, we need to check and make sure it's in lowest terms. And there are no common factors between 3 and 8. So it is. So there you go. There's our answer. So if you got that right, great job. Perfecto. I like the word perfecto. It's not a word, but it's a great made-up word. I like it too. Oh, wait. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and check these ones, 7, 8, and 9. All right. We have 1/4 plus 2/3. So we need to find all of the least common multiples. So I'm going to count by 4s, 4, 8, 12. I'm going to count by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12. And ooh, there we have it. There is our least common multiple. It is 12. So that's what we need our denominator to become. So I'm going to rewrite this problem. 1/4 plus 2/3. I need this 4 to become a 12, so I need to multiply it by 3 to the bottom and to the top, which ends up being 3/12. Okay? Then I need this 3 right here to become a 12. So in order to get it to be a 12, I need to multiply it by 4 to the bottom and to the top. And that, I just dropped that addition. 2 times 4 is 8. And that is 3 times 4, which is 12. Now I have my common denominator, which is great. I'm going to have a 12 in my answer. So I just add the numbers on top. 3 plus 8 is 11. And is my answer in simplest form? Yes, there's no common factor, so boom, there you have it. 11/12 is my answer. So if you got that right, great job. Okay, on to number 8. So to do number 8, we are going to count. Got to find the least common multiple, so I'm going to count by tens first, 10, 20. Then I'm going to count by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Hey, all right, we found our least common multiple, ladies and gentlemen, and it is 10. Which is awesome because I don't have to do anything for that. I'm just going to leave that as 9/10. So I'm going to write 9/10 minus 1/2. And I need this 2 to become a 10. This one's a 10, so that's good. So to make this into a 10, I need to multiply it by 5 to the bottom and the top. Don't forget about the top. It has to be 5 divided by 5, which is actually equal to 1. You have to multiply a number by 1 so it keeps its integrity as a number. Okay, so 9/10 minus 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Perfect. So we have our common denominator. I'm just going to work this problem down because I don't want to run into this problem over here. So I'm going to have 10 on the bottom, 10 as in the denominator, and then I'm just going to subtract the numbers on top. It says 9 minus 5. Well, 9 minus 5 is 4. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this number, and are there any common factors between 4 and 10? And what I notice about 4/10 is that 4 and 10 are both divisible by 2. They're both even, so that's pretty easy to tell. Whenever you have an even number, what you need to do is we know they're both divisible by, they're even, so that means they're divisible by 2. So 4 is the same thing as 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, right? And 10 is the same thing as 2 times 5. So they both have a factor of 2 within them. So what we can do is we can cancel that out. And because really 2 divided by 2 is the same thing as 1, and 1 times 2/5 is just 2/5. Now, when you're doing this problem and you notice that they're both even, and so you know that 2 goes into them, I'm totally okay with you going here at 4/10 and being like, hey, I know that 2 goes into both of those. 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 10 5 times, so the answer is 2/5. That is okay with me. I'm doing all this because I want you to actually see visually what's going on. But yeah, 2/5 is the answer, and if you want to do it that way, that's totally fine. Perfect. On to number 9. So let's do it. Number 9. Okay, we have 7/10 plus 2/5. So we need to go ahead and find the least common multiple. So I'm going to count by tens, 10, 20. I'm writing it up here because I'm kind of running out of room over there. And then I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15. Whoa, I see it. Do you see it? Yes, they have a common multiple of 10, and it's the least common multiple. So boom, that's what our common denominator needs to be. So, which is great because I can just leave this as 7/10. It's already a 10. That means I'd have to do nothing to it, which I love. Now I have 2/5, but I need to make this into a 10. So that means I need to multiply it by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. So it's 2 divided by 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1, and I can multiply this number by 1, and everything is A-okay. So, cool. I have 7/10 plus 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. And so I have my common denominator. My answer is going to have a 10. I'm working vertically in it. And then 7 plus 4 is 11. So I have 11/10. Does anybody see anything? Does anybody see? Yes, this is an improper fraction, so I can write this as a mixed number. How many times does 10 go into 11? You are correct. It goes in 1 time, and how many are left over? 1, and we keep that 10 in the denominator once again. So yes, our answer is 11/10. But is this in simplest form? Yes, it is. There are no common factors, so that's it. So I want you to have both answers written down, the improper fraction and the mixed number, because they're both right. If you got that right, great job. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and press pause, and then go ahead and do 10 and 11 and 12, and when you get done, press play, and we'll see how you did. All right, see you in a bit. Oh, there's our friend, the pause dragon. Pause, 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 pause. Okay, we are back. Let's go ahead and do number 10. We have 11/12 minus 2/3. So we need to go ahead and figure out what that least common multiple is. I'm going to count by 12s, 12, 24, and then I'm going to count by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12. Hey, there we have it. The 12s are in common. That's going to be our least common multiple, which is wonderful because this is already a 12 on the denominator, which means I don't have to do a thing, and I love it when that happens. Okay, 11 twelfths minus 2/3. And I need to, how do I make this into a 12? You're right. I need to multiply the bottom and the top by 4. Okay, so that ends up being 11 twelfths minus 2 times 4 is 8 over 3 times 4, which is 12. So I'm just going to keep that number in the denominator with 12, and then I'm going to go 11 minus 8, which is 3. So there we go. That is, it equals 3/12. Now I want to look at it and say, hey, is there any common factors between 3 and 12? And the answer is yes. 3 goes into 3, and it also goes into 12, so we can simplify this. I can rewrite this. I'm going to rewrite it first. 3 is the same thing as 1 times 3, and 12 is the same thing as 4 times 3. So they both have a factor of 3 within them. So that's what we're simplifying out. We're simplifying that out because 3 divided by 3 is the same thing as 1. And so at the end of the day, we are left with 1/4. Okay? Now, it is totally okay if you look at 3/12 and you say, hey, I know that 3 goes into 3 and it also goes into 12. So 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 12 4 times, and that is my answer, 1/4. So if you want to do it that way, that's totally fine. That's how I do it as we progress into upper level mathematics, which is where you are going. So might as well get it going. Okay, cool. On to number 11. Perfect. I hope you got that one right. So we have to find the least common multiple between 4 and 10. What means we're going to count by 10s, 10, 20, 30, and then we're going to count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Hey, found it. The least common multiple is going to be 20. Perfecto. So let's go. I'm going to rewrite this. 1/4 minus 7 tenths. I need both of these to be a 20. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 5 to get 20. And whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. That's going to leave me with 5 over 20 minus, I need this to be a 20, so in order to do that, I need to multiply it by 2 to the bottom and the top. I end up with 7 times 2, which is 14, and 10 times 2, which is 20. Perfect. So here we go. We have our common denominator, so we can have our answer. Our answer is going to have 20 on the bottom. And now we're just going to, what are we going to do? What are we going to do, Joy? What are we going to do? Uh-oh, my highlighter dropped. I gotta go get it. Oh, got it. Okay, cool. We have to do this on top. We have to do 5 minus 14. 5 is positive, 14 is negative, so the signs are different. We have to take the difference. Kind of changed that up a little bit, didn't I? All right, so we're just gonna take the difference between 14 and 5. The difference between 14 and 5 is 9, and then we look at the two numbers, 5 and 14. Which number's bigger? 5 or 14, 5 or 14, 5 or 14, and it is 14. 14's bigger, 14 is negative, which means our answer is a negative 9 over 20. So the last thing we want to do is just check and see if there's any common factors. They're not even. This is odd and that's even, so 2 doesn't go into them. 3 goes into 9, but it doesn't go into 20. And the only factors of 9 are 1, 3, and 9 doesn't go into 20. So this is in simplest form right here. That is our answer, negative 9/20. So if you got that right, great job. Okay, on to our last one, problem number 12. Okay, we have 4 and 5. We need to go ahead and figure out what is the least common multiple for 4 and 5. So I'm just going to count by 4s, figure out what the multiples of 4 are. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. Oh my gosh, okay. And then 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Oh, wait, there it is right there. Do you see it? Yes, the least common multiple is 20. So that's what we need our denominator to be. So we are going to rewrite 3/4 plus 4/5. And I need to multiply this by 5 so I can turn it into 20. Whatever you do to the bottom, you need to do it to the top. So we have 5 times 3, which is 15, over 5 times 4, which is 20. Woohoo, got it. And then I need to make this into a 22. So to make this 5 into a 20, I need to multiply it by 4 to the bottom and to the top. So I have positive 4 times 4, which is 16, 5 times 4, which is 20. Perfect. So now I have my common denominator. My answer is going to have a 20 in the denominator. And then I'm just going to add these two numbers, 15 plus 16. So I'm going to go over to the side, 15 plus 16, what is that? 5 plus 6 is 11, write the 1, carry the 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So my answer is 31 over 20. Now does anybody see anything? Do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? Yes, it is an improper fraction, which means we can write this as a mixed number. So I want you to go ahead and do that as well. How many times does 20 go into 31? You are correct. It goes in one time. And how many are left over? There are 11. 11 20ths, and you just keep the same number there. So yeah, there's the mixed number, and the mixed number is in lowest terms, and 31 over 20, I'm pretty sure 31 is a prime number, so yeah, this is in lowest terms as well. So if you got that right, wonderful job. Yogarihimashita. That's Japanese for you did a good job. All right, we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.